Wilder hasn't done anything that he didn't do before. Like, people say he's come on since he fought me. He had a fight with Ortiz. Okay, he beat an old guy, but he lost every round on the way to knocking him out.
He takes his time and picks that one shot. It works better for him.
He's happy to lose every round. He's happy to lose every single round on the way to knocking someone out.
It is crazy.
It's like a competition, isn't it? If he can lose every round and knock a guy out.
That's why you got to take him out.
He ain't gonna touch me this time. I'm gonna make him say no mas. Wilder will say no mas in this fight. When he can't land him in and making him look a right idiot.
Salute to my general. It's Hidden Leaf for sponsoring man in the Patreon. Anyone else who wants to support the YB, join the team, interact with the YB, request videos, patreon.com/theyb. So we just heard there from Tyson, Fury, once again, adding wood, adding fuel to the fire. Now, I've been saying pretty much a similar thing more or less every time on these kind of Fury videos, but listen, Fury's been somewhat consistent, but this isn't no surprise to anyone who's followed Tyson Fury, but there are a few nuances which I think are worth explaining. So anyway, let's crack it off from the start. What does Fury say? Fury starts off by mugging Wilder off. He goes, Deontay Wilder, he hasn't done nothing since he beat me a year ago. He beat an old man and lost every round. Now, this is what everyone's been saying, and I completely agree. Wilder ain't no good. He just ain't no good. And the right hand, it's mythical. And if Fury isn't shot, I think he's shot to pieces, if the truth be known, based on the science which I've provided. Nothing hateful about it. Because in fact, let me go back a few steps here. Yeah, let's get everything straight for everyone. When I came out and said Fury was shot, a year ago when I first started my channel, did you hear me talking about Tyson Fury being shot? No, didn't hear a peep about it. It wasn't until he went life and death with Otto Wallin. It wasn't until I saw his knees crystallise. His knees were stiff, rock hard knees, and bowed, stiff legs. It wasn't until that I started saying, you know what? Well, no, tell a lie actually. After December 1st or December 2nd when he fought Wilder, that's when I started thinking, because let's get it right. Fury versus Vlad, he was much quicker and much more just sharper, man. He just looked like a better version of himself. Yeah? And that's what happens when you become shot. Everything, all your stats just deteriorate. If you were 9 out of 10 across the board, if you were 90 out of 100 in loads of stats, all of them just dropped down to like 50s and 60s. Is that not what we saw against Otto Wallin? In Fury versus Wallin, we saw a shadow of his former self, did we not? And it makes me laugh when people sit there and say, oh, you're a hater, YB. You're making out as if I'm saying something that, number one, you haven't seen him actually do, and number two, you're acting as if we haven't seen this in boxing before. You're acting as if Fury would be the first man to be shot. As an example, my favourite example, look at James shot DeGale. What do we know? James DeGale, and he was young as well, perfect age. James DeGale, when he fought Truax, he was about 31, 32 years old, I think, maybe 33, whatever. The fact of the matter is, he was relatively young, similar age to Fury, and he showed that, and let's get it right as well, James DeGale hasn't been out drinking, I don't even think Fury was doing that much drinking, but let's take him for his word. James DeGale hasn't been out drinking and doing all the madness, and even I'm not even sure how he ended up shot. People say, oh, well, he had a few wars. Who did he really have wars with? They weren't really wars, were they? I don't think. There was good fights, they weren't wars though, but either way, look how little it took for James DeGale to be finished in the sport. Didn't take long, did it? And it's horses for courses. Throw in Tyson Fury. James DeGale didn't have 3 years out. James DeGale didn't go on a bender. James DeGale, see what, add all these factors in. If James DeGale can be shot, you best believe Fury can also be finished real quick. But anyway, all I'm doing there is clarifying for everyone. Part of me now, before I wanted to see Fury iced, if the truth be known, I did, but part of me now, I want Fury, I'd rather Fury win, because I actually think there's a better chance of Fury fighting AJ than Wilder fighting AJ. I'm sitting there now, I'm thinking to myself, Wilder's had the belt all this time, by the way. Wilder hasn't had any reason not to fight AJ. Fury kind of has, because Fury hasn't got a belt, so there is no unification there. And I think what Fury wants to do, or possibly, I might be wrong, but let's see. Let's give Fury the chance. If Fury does win the belt and ducks AJ, then it's open game. But if Fury gets the belt, let's see what happens then. I think there's a good chance. And the other thing in Fury's, the other reason why I've started to like Fury more, is the fact that, once again, Fury, to his credit, he's actually fighting someone with power. See what I mean? Fury hasn't spent his whole career... Yes, he hasn't fought the best people all the time. Yes, he's no Anthony Joshua in terms of his willingness to fight the best. But he's fought Vlad. So that's something that Wilder never wanted to do. I'm pretty sure Fury would have fought Vitali as well. Something that Wilder didn't want to do. Fury's fought Wilder. Something that the equivalent of Wilder would be like Wilder fighting Dillian White. Maybe not even that, but still. All these people, and there's another one. Tyson Fury fought Chisora twice. Show me one Chisora on Wilder's record, there ain't none. So that's another thing which is really... Initially I thought, you know what? Yeah, I think Wilder's going to win, and I wanted to see Fury sent to Asgard, but no, I don't. No, now I want Wilder to get it, if the truth be known. I want Wilder's a man who always tries to cheat going into fights. He loves going into fights where he knows he's the only one, or he loves going into fights where he's bringing a sawn-off shotgun and the other guy's got a stick. That's what he likes to do, and that really irritates me, because he talks about how confident he is, and I'm going to do a video on this exposing this, but he talks about, oh man, I was anointed by God. My grandmama told me. Well, if your grandmama really told you you was anointed by God, why aren't you going in there then and proving yourself? And showing, rather than being selective, fighting Dominic Breazeale and Luis Dinosaur Ortiz 10 years into your title run, or 5 years into your title run, why don't you start fighting some proper people? There's a whole bag of them now as well. Or any one of these guys, yeah? Let's get the record straight here. Usyk, I'll give him credit for. Chisora, I'll give him credit for. Dillian White, I'll give him credit for. AJ, credit for. Who else is there? Daniel Dubois, credit for. Joe Joyce, credit for. From off the top of my head, them 6 names are the 6 names Wilder gets credit for. They're all big heavyweights and they all have strong offense. But he just don't want to do it. He just don't. His whole career is every single person he's fought has never been strong in the offense department. He's always liked to fight. Even Ortiz, no, he's not an offensive fighter. He's a boxer. That's what Wilder likes to fight. Wilder likes to fight boxers because he knows 9 times out of 10 at heavyweight he's going to be able to ding a right hand and catch someone. So hats off to Fury, and that moves me on nicely to this next part. So after Fury finished mugging Wilder off and losing every round against Luis Ortiz, and by the way, Luis Ortiz has done nothing. He lost every round. Meanwhile, AJ's winning every round against Andy Ruiz. I'd love to see Wilder try and win every round against Andy Ruiz. You couldn't even win 1 round against Ortiz. But still, after Fury says that, he then says, sorry, he doesn't say this. You hear his teammates say, so Fury says, yeah, Wilder lost every round, and his teammate said, yeah, that's why you've got to knock him out. Now, that statement from his teammate probably went over most people's heads, and it did initially for me, but on second thought, it made me think that this is a good sign for Fury fans. It's a good sign for anyone who wants to see Fury stick it on Wilder, because if you are, there's an old saying that you are the people you hang around kind of thing. Now, if Fury's, when he was hanging with Ben Davidson and that team, Ben Davidson was telling him, oh no, keep running, don't stand, kind of thing. You know, see what I mean? This is a positive influence. The fact his team, or the fact at least one person within his team, well, also, we know his new trainer is thinking the same stuff about being aggressive as well. So my point is, this gives us an insight that there are several people within Fury's team, and his dad as well. I think his dad said come in big and go in there and weigh on the cruiserweight. I've got some more videos coming soon. I'm going to do the replay of Fury versus Cunningham and Fury versus David Haye and show you lot how Fury needs to treat, or how Fury has successfully beaten blown up cruiserweights in the past. Weighed all over them, but that's for another day. As I was saying, luckily for Fury fans, or hopefully for Fury fans, there's several people in Fury's camp who are telling him, stick it on this man. And you need that. I'm sorry, you do. You are the way your people are in camp, that's the whole reason you have a camp. You have a camp to prepare. If you've got people, and even if Fury doesn't go in there and march straight forward, but in his mind somewhere, it's going to be buried in there. That if he gets put down early, you got. The thing is, for Fury, I keep saying this, but I want to drum it home. Fury went in there with Cunningham, yeah? Cunningham is a worse version of Wilder, but still, he went in there with Cunningham, and he tried to outbox Cunningham. And then, what happened? Perfect. This is what Wilder waits for. Like I just mentioned a few minutes ago. Wilder loves fighting a boxer. He loves to sit there, and then what he does, he downloads some information, and he essentially, he sees how you box. He likes to fight boxers. And when he's fighting boxers, he spends a few rounds. Look at the Ortiz fight. See what I mean? The Ortiz fight, he did nothing. He was getting his head boxed off for 4 rounds. He does nothing for 4 rounds. Then he starts. He's just purely watching where he can slip that right hand in, watching where you get lazy, watching where your feet square up, watching where your feet get flat, watching when your hands are by your waist, and then boom. See what I mean? So fair play to Wilder, he's good at that, but how you avoid that strategy is don't box him. Get on top of him, and when you're on top of Wilder, he panics. He panics and put his earmuffs on. Murat Gassiev versus Usyk style. When Usyk was giving Gassiev a boxing lesson, do you know why Gassiev couldn't do nothing? He was shell-shocked. He was paralysed. He had paralysis. He couldn't move because he was just bamboozled because Usyk was hitting him all over the place. Same as when similar thing to what Lomachenko did to Rigondeaux. The reason Rigondeaux jacked in the corner, Mr. Double Olympic Champion, El Jackal, the reason he jacked in the corner, because he was bamboozled. He couldn't believe what was happening. He was getting his head boxed off for the first time in his career. Not only was he getting his head boxed off though, he was being hit from all angles. He was getting hit to the body, he was getting touched to the head, he was getting spun around. He couldn't believe what was happening to him. And that's important because, and Fury kind of says that here, he says, listen, when Wilder don't touch me, I'm going to make him jack. And that's what you've got to do. That's the mindset you've got to have for Wilder. Get on top of him, yeah. 280 pounds of inside fightingness. Get on top of him, 6'9" of inside fightingness, and bully him all over the place. And people can sit there and say, "Oh, YB, you're having a laugh," all this kind of stuff, yeah. If Fury does go in there and he's worked on his power and he bullies Wilder, I can see Wilder jacking. I can see Wilder. I already know Wilder's excuse. When Wilder jacks, yeah, his excuse is going to be, "Oh, my hand. Oh, well, you know, I've got a big right hand, and I broke it in camp, and yeah, well, you know." See what I mean? That's going to be an excuse, and all of his fans will come out and say, "Oh, well, obviously, we know Wilder's got a big right hand, so he couldn't use his right hand." That's what I'm going to say. I'm telling you now for free. His excuse is going to be, "Oh, my right hand was broken early in the fight, and I couldn't throw it." That'll be his guarantee. You. That'll be his excuse. Because do you know how I know that? Because what do we know? What happened when Deontay Wilder went in there with Bermain Stavern the first time and he couldn't get the KO? What did he say? Oh well, I would have got the KO, but I broke my hand. See what I mean? A true champion, yeah, when they lose or when they don't perform as they should have performed, they come out and they say, "That was on me, yeah, my problem." What they don't do is, look at AJ when he lost to Ruiz. Didn't come out and say, "Oh well, this, that, the other." What did Wilder do when he couldn't knock out someone, even though he's meant to be anointed by God, even though he's meant to have ungodly power? What happened then? "Oh well, actually, I'm not going to take responsibility. I'm not going to admit that my power's overrated for anyone who actually wants to fight me or actually wants to come and win." Instead, he blames his hand being, "Oh well." Isn't it interesting though? You've only ever hear Wilder complain about his hand being hurt for the one fight he didn't stop the guy. And is that out of his 45 fights, you've never heard Wilder complain about his hand? And the minute he can't get the stoppage, all of a sudden his hand's hurting. That shows you the calibre of the man. It's all talk. He's talked himself, and he doesn't even believe the stuff he's saying. If he did, he'd be going in there and expecting to knock the best out, but you don't want to do that. But anyway, I'll finish off by saying, the last quotes from Fury is what I want to hear. The whole lot of this is what I want to hear. Wilder needs to jack. I want to see Wilder jack in the corner. I don't think Fury can knock Wilder out, but imagine how funny it will be. My reaction, I've already got the reaction ready. How funny it will be to see Wilder jacked in the corner. And people can sit there and say, "Oh, Wilder will never jack. Here's this, that, the other." But guess what? What do we know? Who was the other individual, actually more accomplished than Wilder, who jacked in the corner? Yeah? And once again, funnily enough, these same individuals, these same LDBC, were ranting and raving about this guy the same way. I mentioned him earlier, El Jackal, Guillermo Rigondeaux. Guillermo Rigondeaux was backed by all the LDBC. They were saying, oh man, yeah man, oh, Guillermo Rigondeaux, El Jackal. Oh man, Lomachenko, he gon' get it. Lomachenko gon' get it. Yeah man, oh, El Jackal, El Jackal. They was ranting and raving, talking about El Jackal, talking about this, talking about that, gassing him all the way up. Then what happened? He jacked in the corner and they all jumped ship. Nowhere to be found. But the point is, the same way they was all gassing, talking about how El Jackal was going to do this and El Jackal was going to do that. That's the same thing you hear from Wilder. Oh, you guarantee, yeah. Before the day or the weeks, the months before Rigondeaux fought Lomachenko, yeah. If you'd have asked any of the LDBC what's going to happen in this fight, or if you'd have asked any of the LDBC, will Lomachenko make Guillermo Rigondeaux quit, they'd have looked at you funny and said, are you having a laugh? Rigondeaux will never quit. He's a soldier. He's this, he's that. That's what they tell you. No, factual, that's what that. In fact, I'm sure the receipts are there, if they haven't deleted them already, of them gassing him up. So let's get, people might find what I'm saying unbelievable. Oh, there's no way Fury can make Wilder jack. Well, the blueprint's there. No one would have believed that Lomachenko, and many people, I don't personally believe this, but many people think that Fury's a better boxer than Lomachenko. Well, if that's the case, if Fury comes and doesn't come just to try and win on points, but comes to give it his all in the ring and end the fight, if Fury goes in there and intends on leaving his soul out there over the 12 rounds, actually going to work and giving it all he's got, I think it's a possibility. Because Wilder's never been there. And like Fury told David Haye, I'm going to take you to a dark, deep, dark place that you don't like going. Yeah? I can't wait to do a video on this, but Fury made, never mind making Wilder quit in the ring, Fury made the other cruiserweight, David Haye, David Haye banged up Wilder in sparring. Fury made that David Haye jack in the conference. David Haye didn't even want to get in the ring with him. And that's what we're already hearing now. If Wilder don't want to turn up to press conferences. What's that about? Mr. Big Wilder. I'm telling you, he's in his head. He's scared. He's scared. He's heard. I'll tell you this for free, yeah? I've spoke to people within Wilder's camp. They've told me that Wilder and his people have started hearing that Fury is coming to make him jack. And he's getting second thoughts. He's thinking, wait there a minute. I thought Fury was coming to tickle around. I thought Fury was coming to run around and let me just line up my right hand. I wasn't expecting Fury to come forward. 280 pounds of inside fightingness, 6'9" of inside fightingness, and way all over me. That's what he's saying. I'm telling you now. One thing we do know, Deontay Wilder is listening to the YB. He don't want to be weighed all over. Them little skinny knees. They're gonna bust like skinny pipes. There's a reason when builders build houses, they don't put skinny pipes in because they freeze over and they bust. That's what's going to happen to Wilder. He hasn't got the infrastructure to be a heavyweight boxer, unfortunately. And he knows it. To his credit, he's not actually that delusional, Wilder, because if he was, if true delusion is when you don't know your limits, does that make sense? Wilder does. He knows his limits. That's why you don't go in there with certain people. And that's why he's getting second thoughts. He's getting cold feet. He's thinking, wait there a minute. I don't really want to be weighed all over. I don't want 6'9" of inside fightiness all up inside me. But anyway, it's in Fury's hands now, in my opinion. If Fury comes to fight, just like he asked David Haye, are you going to come and fight, or are you going to come and jack like he did against Solis and Thompson? What are you going to do? And David Haye refused to answer the question. And Fury told him, I see a stinker coming. I think you're going to jack. And he didn't turn up. Yeah? Same as I'm asking Fury the same question now. Fury, are you going to come and give it your all, or are you going to come and play Twinkle Toes? If you play Twinkle Toes, you get knocked out, in my opinion. If Fury comes and plays Twinkle Toes, he's going to be on his back and he's going to be murmuring. If he comes and marches forward, I'll give it a fair fight. Then I don't think Fury. I'm not going to go 100% Fury, but it evens it up, in my opinion. I'd probably call it 55-45 in Fury's favour if he comes to proper stick it on him. Otherwise, I'm going 90% Wilder if he tries to run around the place.